driving back into Houston, Texas from spring. Our thanks to everybody who just joined us at the Ice House. What's the name, Kano, of Papa's Ice House? There was a Papa's in El Paso, Papa's Ice House in spring. Headed back into Houston, Texas with Arian Foster, and we got to meet, I got to meet, many of you know him, especially if you live in the Houston area or have watched him play. I got to meet him for the first time. Ulysses, yes, this is really happening right now. When you get back from school, I know you're going to be watching this. But as Arian drives back into Houston, I want to make a chance that, I want to make sure that you have a chance to ask him questions, and it can be about anything. And I told you that he's going deep into the major issues in this country today with a podcast called Now What? And so no issue too big, too small, related to his career that he's had already or his career ahead. We're looking forward to you asking. So as your questions come up, I'll start to read them. Katie says, get Ellen to El Paso. We'll see about that. Lennon says, Luann Lennon says, see you tonight. Connor, where are we going to be tonight? Oh, Warehouse Live. I was just saying that. Warehouse Live at what time?
Let me double check because I want to make sure I have.
Don't you have your?
I have it up there.
Cynthia used to have everything written in Sharpie on her wrist,
Really?
like every, kind of like a quarterback might have.
Right. It might not
What is
work.
that called for a quarterback when they have the
Wristband, armband.
Okay.
It's a.
Thought there might be a technical phrase.
There might be. I just never had
Yeah.
one.
So it's at 6 p.m. Beto.
6 p.m. at Warehouse Live.
Yes.
And everyone's invited. I think there's a charge at the door. It's a low dollar fundraiser, 25 bucks.
$25.
25 bucks. And in with these $25 fundraisers, we've raised tens of millions of dollars that allow us to be competitive in every one of the 254 counties of Texas. No PACs, no corporations, no special interests, just people like you, 25 bucks at a time. And that's at Warehouse Live tonight in Houston. Again, we will take your questions for Arian Foster. We're very lucky to be joined by him today, the day before his 32nd birthday, which is just nuts that we get to be here with him.
Hey, Beto, Cheryl says my 2 favorites in one plate.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Cheryl.
Then somebody else said amazing human being, amazing athlete.
Absolutely. I've only known Arian for the last hour, and I'm there with you. I feel it. You're incredibly kind. You are absolutely chill. No pretense. You're a superstar, but you don't act like a superstar. So grateful, and grateful also that you're focusing on important issues in the country right now. So you mentioned some of the issues you've had on the podcast. What are some issues you're going to tackle in the coming year?
Right, so I have some pretty cool guests lined up. One of them is his name is he's Professor Gates. He's a theoretical physicist.
Whoa.
He deals in, his specialty is called string theory, and I don't want to bore you with the details of what that is, but supersymmetry. And so he goes deep off into the mathematics of physics, and I'm super interested in that subject. Also, I want to tackle a little bit more the political issues that are kind of hovering around sports right now. But what I've noticed is locking athletes in that are one, politically aware enough, but more so than anything, articulate enough to cover the subjects in a way that I feel will do it justice. So it's tough because as an athlete, you want to kind of play both sides of the fence to keep
right,
your bipartisanship, because consumer is consumer.
That's right.
And you don't want to politicize potential consumers.
Let me ask you about that. I remember once I was back in El Paso. I was running for U.S. Congress the first time in 2012, and I was calling a local. He was actually a longtime family friend, but also owned a car dealership. And I said, "Hey, is there any way that you would help me in this campaign? Would you write a check for $100, $250? I can't remember what we were asking for." And he said, "You know what, Beto? I support you. I'd love to, but I'm not going to, because I sell trucks to Republicans. I sell them to Democrats. I sell them to everybody. I don't want anybody to think that I'm just on one side." And yet, you mentioned as an athlete, as someone who draws, hundreds of thousands over your career, millions of people to watch you. You don't want to estrange anyone, and yet you want to make sure that when it counts, you stand up and take a position on issues of importance. What athletes that have preceded you inspired you in that way, who said, despite my career and my own personal success, I'm going to stand up on the issues of the day?
Right. Well, I think the most obvious example is Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Right? So if you look at what he did, he's became a martyr in our society today, where he's kind of idolized. But in his day, he was a villain. Like, there was no
right.
There were pockets of communities, especially in our communities, where he was beloved because of the situations that was going on in that day. But the majority consensus was that he was a troublemaker. He was a loudmouth. He was this. He was that. But looking back, he was kind of a soothsayer in the things that he was saying, and a lot of the things that he believed in came to fruition.
That's right.
So, kind of bring it back to what you're talking about. As athletes today, I think, and I don't think it's just necessarily an athlete thing. I think it's to be a responsible citizen in our country today. I think you have to be politically aware. I'm not saying you have to choose a side. I'm not saying you have to go fight people for your beliefs, but I think you have a responsibility to know why you believe what you believe. Because once you dig your heels in, before you dig your heels in, you should have a really good knowledge of the things that you believe in. Because what that does, it allows you to listen to the other side without just waiting to hear what they're going to say. I mean, without you want to wait to hear what they have to say rather than just getting ready to have your response ready.
That's right.
That's what the rhetoric is full of today. And like, you have a responsibility to kind of push that out of the forefront of our conversations.
You were saying that on your podcast you recently interviewed somebody who you may not have agreed with on every issue, but you said you all had a very civil conversation. You were willing to hear each other out.
Right.
Did it change your opinion or your mind on any issues? Did you see things any differently after the conversation?
Well, what it did was it changed my opinion of him. Right.
Huh.
So, whereas this it's kind of it's an issue I have with political talking heads and in general in society, because you have a platform and you kind of pander to your audience, because it becomes your only source of revenue, right? So you have to pander to that audience, and people love drama. We love blood. Like, it's why car wrecks have high ratings, right? So we're having these conversations, and he's like one of those. He's a right wing. He'll call himself a moderate, but I'd say he's more right, like where he believes the Civil War wasn't about slavery, right? It was about the states' rights.
Oh gosh.
Whatever. So like it was that far, right? So we had a conversation, but
it's hard to have a civil conversation with someone who believes that. To be honest with you,
I agree 100%. But we did, and what I figured out was that when you hold him to the fire of the things that he said he believed, it's not necessarily that he believes them wholeheartedly, but he'll dance around it linguistically to make people feel like he believes a certain way, just to pander to his audience. And that's a majority. I want to say majority, but a lot of the talking heads do that.
You're rewarded for being sensational and provocative right now.
100%.
There's this guy, I won't even go into it and give them more credit, but there are some people who make a tremendous living on TV, on the internet, and on the radio, just saying absolutely sensational, untrue things, but it shocks you, and it like a car wreck, like a train wreck, you have a hard time averting your eyes, and you may even be drawn to it because it just grabs you in that way. It's interesting that you were talking about Muhammad Ali as perhaps a source of inspiration. In my understanding, when he really stood up and stood out and paid the consequences, he was at the height of his career, and he kind of sacrificed some of the best years of his life, both in his ability to make money, his ability to continue to be a world champion, for his beliefs, had the courage of his conviction. I see that happening in sports. Again, maybe it's always been happening, but he really stood out, and I see some people who've really paid the price or a price for having the courage of their convictions in modern sports, in modern America. So maybe that example is still with us.
No, it is. it's different, and the ammunition that the opposition has is like, well, things aren't like they were in the 60s. But the issues I see are a little bit more covert. They're a little bit, like I said, undercurrent. And so people use that, oh, we could drink out of the same water fountains.
Right, everything's okay.
Everything's okay, but it's really not. But it's like, so like the issues is, if you have a platform, you have a responsibility to your audience. You have a responsibility to those people, because not everybody has the time to sit here and have these deep, drawn out conversations and be well read on every single subject. So I think it's important for whoever your main source of information is coming from, it gives its best to do its due diligence on the subject, because your readers and your subscribers and everybody that you're influencing society. It trickles down.
I wonder, the president, and maybe others have said this, but certainly the president talks about the press as the enemy of the people. And kind of when I was raised, and my understanding of one of the critical institutions of this country, it's having a free press that's critical, that can ask tough questions and can also share with you things that might be inconvenient to your beliefs or your conclusions, the facts, the truth, so that you can make a more informed decision about who you elect, or who you support, or where you shop, or just so you know what's being done in your name in this country. And at a time when the press is under attack, unlike maybe any time in at least my lifetime, and also at a time where you can kind of safely choose the news that you agree with, or the opinions that you agree with. You mentioned this earlier, online, on the internet, or MSNBC or Fox. Not that they're the same, but they're an example of that. More critical than ever, that people seek out all the facts, and maybe kind of the inconvenient facts, or the inconvenient opinions that challenge what you believe, or at least give you a bigger picture. Cynthia, I can't see the screen. It's a little bit dark, but I know it's still recording. You all let me know if I ever get the picture wrong.
Yep.
And then tell me if we've got any questions.
Okay,
Are you following it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So folks, as your questions come in, Chris and Cynthia in the back are reading this. This is a huge treat for us to be with Arian Foster in the middle of the day, having just driven to the spring town hall and now headed back into Houston. We're going to see you later at Warehouse Live for bands, for democracy, for getting together, enjoying a beer, being there for this country at this moment. And but today we're going to be able to answer your questions as we drive.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
All right, so as you looked at the Trump presidency, do you feel like he's changed the landscapes of what a politician looks like for the foreseeable future? He kind of broken that barrier?
Yes, I think he has. The way a friend of mine put it, he was asking questions in some cases that really needed to be asked.
Right.
Shaking up a system that needed to be shaken.
Right.
But the answers he had to those questions, in my opinion, were the absolute wrong ones. Asking about our relationship with the rest of the world, and coming to the conclusion that we should be afraid of the rest of the world and wall ourselves up from it and retreat from our obligations and our allies. Maybe in some cases even embrace our enemies. I think of Russia, which got involved and interfered, attacked our democracy in 2016 in the president's defense of Vladimir Putin on that stage in Helsinki versus defending this country. But I think that campaign, which bucked the national parties, the conventional wisdom, sought in some ways, and in some ways was successful in making people who felt like, no one cares about my life, no one knows that I'm here. I think he tried to, was effective in at least making people believe that he was there for them. But the things that have come out of that, so much of the paranoia, the hatred, we were talking about a president that said that white nationalists and Klansmen and neo-Nazis were very fine people when they were marching in Charlottesville. Someone who's described Mexican immigrants as rapists and criminals. The tactics that he used to do that and the fear that he sought to incite and to stoke really are the worst impulses in a man who holds the highest office in the land. And so I kind of look at my responsibility as a member of Congress now, and hopefully as a U.S. Senator, I'll work with the president where I can. And we've been able to expand access to mental health care for veterans, working with Republicans in Congress, and that legislation signed into law by this president, but also to stand up to him where we have to. And there are a lot of places, whether it's taking kids from their parents when they come to this country, leaving the most violent countries on the planet, making sure there's equal justice under law, or that everyone's treated with respect and dignity. There's a lot to stand up against and a lot of people to stand up for who aren't being represented right now. So yes, something's changed, but I hope that change down the road after this administration, in whatever way this administration comes to an end, so we get something better.
So you're like one of the first politicians I've seen to actually answer the questions that I asked of you. That's impressive.
Thank you.
As an independent, right? I think that like a two-party system is tough to see, because it's like you have to pick a team, right? As you see, this administration is gonna go for re-election in 2020. How do you combat somebody that's running on a platform of not necessarily any kind of factual basis or any kind of rationale, but it's more based off of entertainment? That's how I saw it.
Yes.
So how do you combat an entertainment-driven campaign?
Yeah, I think that's also something that Trump as a candidate was able to figure out, or had his finger on the pulse of. So many young people, and so many people really of all ages, who have been coming to events of ours or town hall meetings. The younger they are, the less likely they are to subscribe to the idea of political parties. They just like, look, I'm not about Democrat, I'm not about Republican, I'm about whatever the issue is. It could be ending the war on drugs. It could be affordability for higher education and easing the debt load that these higher education students have. It could be criminal justice reform. It could be net neutrality. Whatever it is, they're not looking for the Democratic talking points. And they don't want me to be against a party. They don't want to hear me say, well, if we can get these Republicans out, we're going to do this or that. They just say, hey, how are you going to figure this out? And I could care less about political party. And I think Trump, when he ran in 2016, the president, when he ran in 2016, though he was nominally a Republican, I mean, my mom's a lifelong Republican. Right. The things that he's for don't fit within that fear and that anxiety that he stokes, being against trade, almost all kinds of trade, our alliances that we have, building walls, being against immigrants. I don't know that those are Republican Party values, but I think we can also perhaps in a positive way defy party and just ask everyone in this state to come together just to do the big things that we care about, and acknowledge that if we just say vote for me because I'm a Democrat, I think that's lost before it's begun. It's got to be, let's all do this together, and I could care less what party you are, even if you care about party. This country is more important than any party right now.
I agree. So kind of like being, sorry to turn it into an interview, bro.
No,
I mean, like,
if we do well in this, I want down the road, maybe if we win this election, an invitation to join you on your podcast.
Oh, that's open.
I would love that.
That's open. Whenever you want to come on, man, you got an open door policy, man. But as far as like the future of politics, how long do you see this two-party system being a reality? Because I feel it's like you said, the younger generations always break the traditions of the older generations. I just don't see this lasting in the next 100, 200 years. I can't see that being a thing. We're just divided into these two subsets of thoughts.
I'm with you. I don't know the answer, but I in what I feel, I don't see this two-party system lasting my lifetime. And I think by the time my kids, who are 11, 10, and 7, are voting, when they're going to town halls and holding their representatives and city council members and U.S. senators accountable. I don't know they're going to be doing that as Democrats or Republicans. I don't know what will replace that. But
have you ever heard of the? It's no disrespect, but it's just a random question. But have you ever heard of the Horseshoe Theory?
No.
Okay, so the Horseshoe Theory is like a political theory that says people really far left and people really far right. It's like a horseshoe, right?
Yes.
Are more alike than the moderates.
Folks who voted for Bernie in the primary and then voted for Trump in the general. As far left as you could be, perhaps within the nominees for or the candidates in the Democratic primary, and then moving over and voting for the Republican in the general election. I think there's some truth to that. There,
more so like behavior-wise, not necessarily ideologies, but more so like.
So give me some examples.
Okay, so like I got you. So like the Nazis, or the whatever, the alt-right, whatever they want to call themselves, torch bearers in Charlottesville versus quote-unquote Antifa, who are both like violent protesters on both sides. So like it's more so like the behavioral attributes of human beings who are ideologically right and ideologically left.
It's a tough one. I haven't thought about that before. I worry about extending a false equivalency. I just saw, if you have not seen this yet, and for everyone out there, we had a rare break at the end of the day in Corpus Christi Sunday night, and Chris, Cynthia, and Chrissy and I all went and saw Black Klansman. And
I haven't seen it yet.
It is so good, and Ron Stallworth, whose story it tells, is actually an El Pasoan. He's a constituent of mine, and he wrote the book. Amazing human being, but a lot of the Klan language, America first, make America great. Some of these things that they're saying back in 1970s within the Klan have emerged in modern political rhetoric on the far right, actually through this presidency. And there's a mirroring of some of the really ugly things that were being said then, and those torch lit parades in Charlottesville in 2017. And I mean, it blows my mind that in 2017 or 2018, this country, everything that we've been through, a civil war for that matter, and all the civil rights marches that followed, that there would still be people marching openly for white supremacy, and that people would have to stand up and march against them. But I kind of come to the conclusion, and my gratitude to those who were willing to stand up and march against them. But I'm gonna have to give this some thought. But those are some initial, I guess, reactions or responses. Is that stuff on the far alt, strange right of torchlight Nazi parades? That cannot be us, and as long as that exists in this country, we have to do everything peacefully that we can to put that to an end.
I am with you.
Man, there's no easy question from you so far. It's like the two-party system. Cynthia, give me a question from the live stream for crying out loud.
One for Arian. Ready?
Okay, here you go.
It could be tough or it could be easy. Somebody wants to know what's your favorite quote or saying.
Favorite quote or saying?
Oh man, I think I should.
Is it the dirt one?
I think I
Okay, let's hear it again for those who weren't on this one.
So it's one of them. One of them is an African proverb, so I don't know exactly the source, and another one is mine, but it's really helped me. It was kind of, you come to an epiphany in your life, and as I share it with you. So the first one is, "He who wears his dirt the best is the healthiest," and we discussed that earlier in the live stream. And the other one is. I kind of developed over the years of just living and making a lot of mistakes, is the anchor and the sail are in the same boat.
Whoa.
And so like wherever you want to go in life, the tools that hinder you are in the same place that the tools to help you sail are.
I love that.
I appreciate it, man.
I love
it's
that.
like the source, you know what I mean?
I like that. Yeah. If you ever hear me say that again on the road, know that I'm going to cite Arian for that. That's awesome. The anchor and the sail are in the same boat.
This is true.
All right, Kano, good job. You're on a roll.
I am. I have another one.
As he tries to negotiate this Houston rush hour traffic, let me give you a shot of this.
As bad as it gets, man.
Somebody wants
That's something I'm learning about Houston. We're now going just about 0 miles an hour here.
And this is 45.
Yep. And we're stuck in this traffic. And we got a lot of people on the live stream watching this. So ask your questions, Kano.
Well, there's another one, but I don't think he can do it because he's driving. They want Arian to teach Beto how to bow namaste.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. That's your signature touchdown move.
It was. So it's just...
And why did you do that? Where'd that come from?
Right, so so my rookie year, I had done really well, and so I had the opportunity to challenge for the starting spot going into the next season. And before, me and my brother were sitting around talking. He's like, "You need something that you do in the end zone every time." And I was like, "I don't want it to be corny," so I started thinking. I was really into yoga at the time, it's at the end of every yoga session, the instructor says Namaste. And
what does that mean?
It's 47C.
47C.
Yeah.
This is it right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure I don't ruin your day, man. But it's Hindu Sanskrit. It means the God or the light in me recognizes the God or light in you.
Oh man.
Love that.
And so it's kind of just like my way of saying, you know, because I was always grateful for the opportunity and everything that football gave to my family and my life. So it was just my way of like showing everybody that I was very appreciative.
It's awesome. I love
so
that.
What you do is you take a left here.
Yes.
Okay, he's at a red light, so we may get this.
That's real simple, man. So you just go like that, close your hands and you bow, man.
I love it. Yes. You just won Cynthia over for
totally
life.
that.
Yeah, that's game over.
Did namaste to me.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, deep pocket, huh?
Do you know who he is, Arian?
Oh yeah, for sure.
He may like be on a first name basis with him.
Definitely not that, but
Yeah.
definitely aware. Definitely aware.
Other questions, Ms. Conner?
I'm looking to see I'm missing someone.
What's your favorite thing about Houston? So this is your town. You said you've been here for 10 years.
Right.
It's where you're raising your family. What's exciting to you about this town?
It's weird because it's like I think it was the 4th biggest city in America, and it feels like a small town for some reason. Like it doesn't give you that big city feel. It's just like that homely feel, but it's like in a big city. So it's like a big house that has carpet.
I like it.
Giving a lot of shout outs. What's up, Foster?
I got one more question for you.
Okay.
So
Cynthia, come on. If you don't bring him in, he's going to ask you another hard question. I'm going to have to answer it. There's a lot of people watching. Come on, people. Counting on you.
So what do you think about like the debate structure set up for like elections? Do you think I don't think there's enough accountability with the moderators for these debates. Because it's like you said, so when we were talking, you actually answered my question, which I appreciate. But I see how it's easy to get off on a tangent, but you have to directly answer these questions.
And keeping the candidates focused on the answer. Do you support this? Yes or no? Answer the question. Yeah. So it's an interesting question because right now we're negotiating the details of the debates that we want to have in Texas, and we want to have as many as we can. And my ideal format is anyone asks any question on any issue that they want to, that they feel strongly about, that's important to them, to their life. We don't call the shots. The people we want to represent do. And then, yes, we are forced to answer the questions as directly as possible. One of the things that I've done in the 6 years I've been in Congress is I hold a public town hall in El Paso, the community I represent, every single month without fail, and everyone's welcome. And so everyone can come out, and those who do very often may be pissed off at me, may have a question about something that I've done or failed to do, and they're going to hold me accountable in front of everyone else in my community. And there's that builds a healthy fear that I feel going in, like, hey, I got to account for myself.
Onto Memorial Drive.
Gotcha.
And I got to account for myself. And so when I take a vote in Congress, what's that?
He's right here.
Next street, yeah.
I'm great at multitasking sometimes.
You're amazing. I'm blocking this mirror from you too. But people, when your constituents ask you those questions,
Yes.
that forces accountability. It forces a direct answer, and folks really will not put up with equivocating or sidestepping or dancing. They want to see you. Hey, I asked you a question. Are you going to be for this or you're not? And there's sometimes when I don't know the answer. Right. They'll say, hey, what are you going to do on HR 5411 or whatever it is? And I'll say, you know what? I haven't read the bill yet. Let me get back to you. And I will, and we'll get their email or their cell phone. But I learn a lot in those meetings. I don't know. And so I want the debate, if we have debates, and maybe as a country, when we have debates, allow anyone to ask a question, maybe not just moderators or news folks, but anyone on any issue in their own words. It's important to them, and then hold candidates accountable for answering.
We're gonna make a right on Shepherd Drive
In 2 miles.
and then Arian, what's your favorite food
in the world.
And we thought you were a vegan.
Yeah,
I had read that about you, but you're not.
So I was. So in 2000, I get this question all the time because in 2012, going into the 2012 season, I decided to try it. I was, you get really into diet and dietary issues when you're an athlete because everything you consume becomes a part of your output. So I wanted to give it a try, and so you go deep down that rabbit hole.
How did you get enough calories, given what you're burning during the day,
right,
the muscle that you are building and have to keep? How did you find enough calories in a vegetarian? And I'm asking out of ignorance. I just don't.
No, for sure.
I just don't know.
No, for sure. And I mean, that's the kind of the thing, right? So you have dietitians on both sides of the spectrum who will say you need meat for this, that, and the other. Other dietitians say you don't need. You get plenty of what which I fall somewhere in the middle. And so I'm more for moderation. I do believe that a lot of animal product consumption is not as healthy for you as it's advertised, but I believe that some isn't bad.
So you're an omnivore now. You eat a little meat, a little plant.
I do. I just try to maintain a balance.
We're gonna do right up here in Shepherd.
Got you. I just try to maintain a balanced diet because at the end of the day, you can read the research on both sides and you'll find it's chaotic, man. So what I try to do is listen to my body. If I eat something and I feel extremely heavy, it's probably not the best for me. If I eat something and I feel really good afterwards, it's probably a little bit better for me.
Speaking of that, when I was watching that movie, Black Klansman, on Sunday night, went to Alamo.
How you gonna tie this
great, but
I
had a fried chicken sandwich, and it did not sit well with me. It's a good fried chicken. I'm realizing at the age of 45, almost 46,
right,
I don't know that I should be eating. I can't eat the way I did when I was in my 20s. I can't eat pizza and fried foods the way I did.
Left on the Shepherd.
So mark my words, I'm going to be a healthier man going forward. My daughter Molly, who's 10, just announced to the world that she's a vegetarian now. She's not going to eat any more meat. And so Amy, my wife, is trying to figure out now how to prepare meals. So Molly gets, plant-based meal. Ulysses and Henry, do meat and a mixture of other things.
Right.
So
sure. If she's doing all plant-based, that's the one thing I learned is that you have to supplement. There's some
with
things,
protein.
No, B12, vitamin that we get from a lot of meat consumption. You have to supplement that if you're going to.
B12 turns calories into energy.
I couldn't even tell you, bro.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you. But this is I met with doctors and they're like, if you're going to do this, you have to supplement B12. And so.
And how long were you a vegan?
I was like for 6-7 months, but what happened was, the reason why I still get this question was it's such a rare commodity in professional sports.
I read about it, yeah.
Yeah, it's so rare that it was a news story all over. It was on ESPN, all of this stuff, and so it got a lot of press. So and then I kind of became the poster boy for vegan athletes, and I never signed up for that. So
do you cook?
I can cook.
I will take that as a no. I'll take that as a no.
I don't know. My breakfast is.
What's your signature breakfast dish?
My signature breakfast is probably a breakfast burrito.
Okay.
And so I whip up some eggs, some hash browns, some Hatch green chili. I don't know.
Oh yes. We live in El Paso, Texas, so we're within driving distance of Hatch, New Mexico.
So Hatch green chili is the best spice on earth.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
So breakfast.
I like that. Yeah. Cool. When you come to El Paso, we're going to take you to a place called Lucy's. It's a little diner on California and Mesa.
It's my grandma's name.
Get out.
Shout out to
Okay.
Lucy.
And so in her honor, we're going to go to Lucy's. we're gonna order you the machaca plate, which is beef that's kind of shredded and fried. It's not the healthiest thing you're gonna ever eat, but it's fried with peppers, with onions, with jalapenos. You could get it with Hatch green chilies, eggs. Then it's all laid on a plate and they smother it with chili con queso over the top with refried beans and hash browns next to it.
So I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So
you know this part of the world.
You speaking my language.
Yes.
Man. You speaking my language.
And Aaron, you're going to take a right onto Kirby Drive, which is the next store.
High school in Albuquerque as well?
Partly, I did.
Oh.
I feel like that was his fault, not mine.
It was. He changed lanes.
Oh,
yep.
He came all the way to the wrong lane.
But yeah, my driving is impeccable. Man.
Yeah,
No, it is.
we have not been in an accident yet, and I've known you a whole hour.
I got the future, as cargo, man. So I ain't gonna jeopardize it. But yeah, partly, and then I moved to San Diego.
Okay.
Culture shock.
At what age did you move to San Diego?
14, 15, somewhere around there. I forget exactly what.
So you're in the Rocky Mountains in northern New Mexico, and then you're on the ocean.
This is true.
Yeah. And now you're in Houston, Texas. So
I've been around.
And you're the last year of your career
was in Miami.
Yeah. So you've been there too. Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't ever answer the question. I was acting like a politician. My favorite food is it's actually Japanese ramen.
Really?
What's that?
You never had ramen?
Well, Japanese ramen. I've had
It's just
ramen,
ramen.
but
I've had
it sounds
ramen.
more
I grew up on
awesome.
ramen
Japanese.
and bologna and all of that stuff. No, it's not just ramen. It's Japanese style. So it's like it's noodles in a bowl that they prepare beautifully with spice, and you can have it with pork or chicken and with eggs, and we have bamboo. It's just LA has my favorite spot in America.
What's it called?
It's called Tatsu Ramen. It's on Melrose.
Okay.
But my favorite ramen I've ever had, I actually had it in Japan just recently. It was the best meal I've ever. It was just I could have died there, dog.
What about pho?
Oh yeah.
Pho is good. To me, it's like an off-brand ramen. But I mean, I don't want to cause any cultural.
I think you may have just started an international incident right there.
I mean, I enjoy it, but it's just not ramen to me. I don't know.
Right. That's cool. You know what? I don't know, aside from college and eating ramen all the time, that I've had ramen since.
It's different.
With the little flavor packet that you put in.
So
but
this is the beauty of Japanese ramen, because I had the same thing. So my girl, she was the one that put me on. It was like 3 years ago, and she was like, "You want some ramen?" I was like, "Absolutely not. I spent my entire life trying to not eat ramen." And she's like, "No, this is different. Like, trust me." And I was like, "All right." So we went to this spot. She said it's gourmet, and sorry, I had to.
That's okay.
Them breaks, man.
Safety first.
Bag a little bit. All right. But yeah, so she said, "Yeah, come on." And we went, and it was the most amazing experience because I thought it was going to be the ramen out the package.
Right.
So you're in for a treat, bro.
Okay. And your favorite ramen spot here?
Tiger Den.
Okay.
Tiger Den.
You guys got that?
Yeah, we wrote
Tiger Den.
Let me know if you roll. I got to join, man.
Okay.
I got to join.
Okay. Yes. Tiger Den. We should.
Tiger Den.
Yes. We're gonna try that out.
Tiger Den is amazing.
So Matt says roast pho.
Oh yeah, I was roasting.
Nicole says stop the car and go to a ramen restaurant right now. There's a ramen food truck on Kirby. You just lit up the live feed by talking about ramen. Nothing else. We talked about debates. We talked about political parties. Ramen is where people are at right now.
Hey, it's a real thing.
I love it.
It's a real thing, man.
Got some votes for O'Rourke, Foster 2020.
Oh, man.
Maybe Foster O'Rourke. Maybe. Ramen with Kiko Man and Chives gourmet budget student wise. Watching from San Diego, Mary Sue. I mean, maybe somebody you knew growing up.
Didn't know Mary Sue, but shout out to you.
Oh man, a lot. People. Aaron, people are really loving this. So yes, well, if he's up for it, we will do this again, maybe on a future visit to Houston. And you all heard it. I think got an open invitation to join the podcast, and I absolutely want to do that. And actually, as you can imagine, we drive all 254 counties of Texas. We're more than 5,000 miles in just to this trip that started in El Paso and has taken us around the state over the last 24 days, 25 days. So we have a lot of time to listen, and your podcast is going to be something that we're regularly playing and listening to going forward. What do you listen to? What are you listening to? What are you reading? You mentioned string theory, the mathematics behind physics. You're talking about debates and political theory. Like, sounds like you're reading all over. But what's who's a podcast you like? What's an author that you go back to or that you're excited about right now?
That's a great question, man. I think I really try to diversify my palette. So I don't try to live in the echo chamber of the things that I already believe. So I follow and listen to a lot of people I extremely disagree with, people I agree with.
I like that.
So a podcast that's really good for that is obviously the Joe Rogan podcast. I was on Pod Save America, obviously. They are left.
That may be one of my favorite of all time.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Is this it right here?
Left on West Alabama.
Okay.
One more.
So they're really cool. I listen to every now and then I listen to Ben Shapiro, who I don't agree with, but I'll listen.
You're
to
challenging yourself and your
the other
assumptions.
side, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they say some things that I extremely agree with. Like we won't get into it because I'm gonna put you on the seat again. But yeah, just diversifying. As far as like for entertainment purposes, that's when like the stuff like physics comes in. Like that's just for my pure entertainment. Like I'm infatuated with how the natural world operates.
Did you ever read any of the Bill Bryson books?
I haven't.
I'm for blanking on the name of them, but Amy turned me on to them, and it's like at a if you didn't study, I was never good at math, I was never good at science. If you didn't study this stuff, he writes at a level that you can understand how the universe works or how matter works, or and just like you said, it's weird to read about science in a way that's entertaining, but it was entertaining to me, and I had a hard time putting the book down.
I think it's important to get back to your platform. I think it's important to have a somewhat scientifically literate society, because science always has and always will push us to the forefront of innovation, and healthcare, technology, everything is geared towards being a scientifically literate.
You're making a lot of people happy by saying this.
I see.
You know why? Because folks actually feel like they've got to march for science today, that science and facts have been called into question. Here we are hundreds of years after the Enlightenment. So I love that you said that, and it needs to be said.
No, it's important, man, for sure.
Okay. Hey, want to thank everybody who joined us. Cannot thank Arian Foster enough for spending part of his day with us the day before his birthday. Happy 32. Happy birthday. And thanks. We had, they told us, Cynthia, almost 2,000 people out at the spring event just now, who all got a chance to see you on the eve of your birthday, sing happy birthday to you. That was kind of a cool moment. So thank you for allowing us to do that.
Set me up.
Yes, well, and also thanks for being such a good sport, answering our questions, asking questions, answering the questions of those on the live stream. And we're looking forward to listening to your podcast.
Cookies is that parting gift too.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this one, that's new edition.
Yes.
No cookies.
He's got a skateboard.
Shout out to you.
That's on
got some skateboard cookies out there.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Pleasure's all mine, man.
Really appreciate it.
Good luck.
This was good.
Yeah, for sure.
Best part of our day, maybe one of the best parts of the trip so far.
For sure.
We are so lucky to do this. Ulysses, this really happened. This is not photoshopped in. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.